Everyone congratulated Sarah on her perfect engagement to Marcus. The photos went viral: her diamond ring, his loving smile, their fairy tale moment. But what nobody knew was that during her engagement party, while she posed for pictures, Marcus was texting me. And I was texting back. If you've ever wondered what really happens behind perfect social media moments, this story will shock you. Hit that like button if you're ready for the truth, and subscribe because this is just the beginning of secrets I'm finally ready to share. My name is Emma, and I'm 26 years old. I work as a graphic designer, and until 2 years ago I thought I was a good person. I thought I was a loyal friend. I thought I understood the difference between right and wrong. But some stories don't have heroes, and this is one of them. Sarah was my college roommate. We shared everything back then: clothes, secrets, dreams about our future. She was the kind of person who remembered your birthday without Facebook reminders, and who would drive 3 hours just to bring you soup when you were sick. When we graduated, life pulled us in different directions, but we stayed close. Close enough that when she started dating Marcus 3 years ago, I was the first person she called. Marcus was everything Sarah had ever wanted. Tall, charming, successful in marketing, with that easy confidence that makes everyone in the room want to be near you. Their Instagram was like a highlight reel of perfect moments: weekend getaways, romantic dinners, spontaneous adventures. Watching their relationship was like watching a movie where you already know there's going to be a happy ending. And then came the engagement post. I remember exactly where I was when I saw it. Sitting in my kitchen, eating cereal for dinner because I'd been too busy with work to grocery shop. My phone buzzed, and there it was. The picture of Sarah crying happy tears, Marcus down on one knee at sunset on some beautiful beach, the ring catching the light like it was designed for that exact moment. Within an hour it had 10,000 likes. Everyone was commenting hearts and congratulations and relationship goals. I liked the post too. I typed "so happy for you both" with 3 heart emojis. But my hands were shaking as I wrote it, and I couldn't figure out why. See, what nobody knew, what Sarah didn't know, was that I'd been talking to Marcus for 8 months. It started innocently enough. We'd run into each other at Sarah's birthday party, and he'd seemed different that night. Quieter. When Sarah was busy with other guests, he pulled me aside and asked how I was really doing. Not the surface-level small talk, but the real question. We ended up talking for 2 hours about work stress, family problems, all the things that feel too heavy to share on social media. He texted me the next day. Just a simple "thanks for listening last night." It meant a lot. I texted back anytime. And somehow anytime became every day. First it was just friendship. He'd vent about work pressure. I'd complain about difficult clients. We'd send each other funny memes and articles we thought the other would enjoy. Coffee meetings became regular, every Tuesday at this little cafe downtown where we knew we wouldn't run into anyone from Sarah's circle. But somewhere between innocent friendship and something I couldn't name, I started looking forward to his messages more than anything else in my day. I started checking my phone constantly, hoping for his name to appear on my screen. I told myself it was just friendship. I told myself I was helping him work through his stress so he could be a better boyfriend to Sarah. The truth was so much uglier than that. When I watched Sarah's engagement video, her pure joy, her complete trust in the man she loved, I felt sick. Not happy sick or even jealous sick, but guilty sick. Because while she was celebrating the love of her life, I was harboring feelings for him that I'd been too cowardly to admit, even to myself. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. Was I just being a good friend? Or was this something more? But deep down I already knew the answer. I just wasn't ready to face what that made me. Let me take you back to where it all really began. Sarah's 25th birthday party, 8 months before that engagement post broke the internet. It was at this trendy rooftop bar downtown, the kind of place where the cocktails cost $20 and everyone looks like they stepped out of a magazine. Sarah was glowing that night, surrounded by friends, wearing this gorgeous red dress that made her look like she owned the world. Marcus should have been the perfect boyfriend. He'd organized the whole party, remembered to invite everyone she cared about, even had them make her favorite playlist. But I noticed things that night that maybe no one else did. How his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. How he kept checking his phone even during Sarah's speech. How when she pulled him onto the dance floor, he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. That's when he found me on the quieter side of the rooftop, away from the crowd. "You look like you need some air too," he said, and there was something in his voice I'd never heard before. Vulnerability, maybe, or loneliness. We talked for hours that night. He told me how he felt like he was performing his own life, putting on this show of being the perfect boyfriend while feeling completely disconnected from everything. He said Sarah was amazing and he meant it, but that he felt like he was drowning in expectations. Everyone loved them together. Everyone said they were perfect for each other. But perfect felt like a prison. I should have told him to talk to Sarah about these feelings. I should have encouraged him to work on their relationship instead of running away from it. But I didn't. Instead, I listened. I validated his feelings. I made him feel heard in a way that apparently Sarah wasn't doing. The text started innocent enough. "How was your day? Saw this and thought of you." But slowly they became more frequent, more personal, more intimate. Our coffee meetings turned into long dinners. He started calling me when he had good news to share, when he was stressed about work, when he couldn't sleep. I became his emotional girlfriend while Sarah remained his official one. But the night everything truly changed was Sarah's engagement party. It was at her parents' house, this beautiful colonial with a wraparound porch and gardens that looked like something out of a fairy tale. Sarah's mom had gone all out with string lights and flowers everywhere. There were probably 50 people there, all celebrating this perfect love story. I watched Marcus propose again in their backyard, this time for everyone who couldn't be at the beach. Sarah cried again. Everyone cheered again. And I clapped and smiled and pretended my heart wasn't breaking. But then while Sarah was posing for photos with her girlfriends, while she was showing off her ring to her aunts, while she was living the happiest moment of her life, Marcus pulled me aside. "Emma, I need to tell you something," he said, and his voice was shaking. We walked toward the back of the garden, away from the lights and laughter, into the shadows where no one could see us. "I think I chose the wrong woman," he whispered. "It should have been you." And then he kissed me. I should have pushed him away. I should have slapped him. I should have marched right back to that party and told Sarah what kind of man she was planning to marry. But I didn't do any of those things. I kissed him back. For months, I'd been telling myself that what we had was just friendship. This wasn't even just attraction. I was in love with my best friend's fiancé, and he was telling me he loved me too. When we broke apart, I could see the party continuing behind him. Sarah laughing with her cousins, her engagement ring catching the light from the string lights, completely unaware that her perfect night was built on a lie. That's when the weight of what we'd done hit me. Not just the kiss, but months of emotional betrayal. Every time I'd comforted Sarah about wedding stress while secretly talking to her fiancé. Every time I'd liked their couple photos while knowing Marcus wished he was with me instead. Every time I'd helped her pick out wedding dresses while planning to steal her groom. I had two choices in that moment. I could confess everything to Sarah, to myself, to the world, and deal with the consequences. Or I could dive deeper into this lie and see where it took me. I wish I could tell you I chose the right path. But this isn't that kind of story. The affair that officially started that night in Sarah's parents' garden became my whole world. Marcus and I met in hotel rooms across the city, always somewhere we wouldn't be recognized. He'd tell Sarah he had work trips, client dinners, late meetings. I'd make up friends' birthdays, family obligations, anything to explain my absence from our usual hangouts. We became experts at deception. Separate Uber accounts so our rides couldn't be traced. Cash payments for everything. Deleting message threads immediately after reading them. We had code words, backup plans, elaborate stories that we practiced until they felt true. But the worst part wasn't the lying to Sarah. The worst part was how good I became at comforting her about the very problems I was causing. "Marcus seems distant lately," she'd say, and I'd rub her shoulder and tell her it was just wedding stress. "He's always on his phone," she'd complain, and I'd remind her how demanding his job was. "Sometimes I feel like I don't even know him anymore," she'd whisper, and I'd assure her that all couples go through rough patches. Every reassurance I gave her was another lie. Every time I held her while she cried about feeling disconnected from the man she loved, I was holding the reason why. Marcus kept making promises. "I'll call off the wedding," he'd say after we'd spent the afternoon in some hotel room, both of us knowing we had to return to our separate lives. "I just need to find the right time," he'd promise when I asked when he was going to tell Sarah the truth. "You're the one I really love," he'd whisper when I started to doubt whether any of this was real. But weeks turned into months, and the wedding planning continued. Sarah bought her dress, a stunning off-the-shoulder gown that made her look like a princess. She booked the venue, chose the flowers, sent out save the dates. And through it all, Marcus kept promising he'd end it while doing absolutely nothing to actually end it. The breaking point should have been when Sarah asked me to be her maid of honor. I was sitting in her apartment, watching her address wedding invitations, when she looked up at me with those trusting eyes and said, "Emma, you've been my best friend through everything. I can't imagine getting married without you standing beside me." That's when I should have confessed. That's when I should have told her that her best friend had been betraying her for months, that the man she was about to marry was in love with someone else, that her perfect relationship was built on lies. Instead, I said yes. I hugged her. I told her I was honored. The dress shopping was torture. Watching Sarah try on wedding dresses while knowing I was planning to steal her groom felt like the cruelest form of torture ever invented. She looked beautiful in everything, but when she found the one, the way her face lit up broke something inside me. "Do you think Marcus will cry when he sees me in this?" she asked, twirling in front of the mirror. I wanted to tell her that Marcus cried after we made love, but not because he was happy. He cried because he felt guilty. He cried because he was trapped between what he wanted and what everyone expected of him. He cried because he was too much of a coward to choose. "He'll be speechless," I told her instead, and it wasn't even a lie. As the wedding got closer, I started to realize something that Marcus was too selfish to admit. He was never going to leave Sarah. He loved the idea of choosing me, of having this passionate secret affair, but he wasn't willing to face the consequences of actually making that choice. He wanted to have his perfect public relationship and his secret true love, and he thought he could have both forever. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves, especially when you're not as careful as you think you are. The discovery happened on a random Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks before the wedding. Sarah had decided to surprise me with lunch. She'd been worried that I seemed stressed lately and wanted to cheer me up. She used her spare key to let herself into my apartment, planning to set up a little picnic in my living room. That's where she found Marcus's second phone. He'd forgotten it the night before, left it charging on my kitchen counter next to his coffee mug and the takeout containers from our dinner. Sarah probably wouldn't have thought anything of finding a random phone, except it started buzzing with notifications while she was setting up our surprise lunch. The first message that appeared on the lock screen was from me. Can't wait to see you tonight. Sarah's working late, so we'll have more time. I came home to find Sarah sitting on my couch, Marcus's phone in her hands, months of our messages spread out on the screen, photos we'd taken together, hotel receipts, love confessions, evidence of our entire relationship laid bare. She looked up at me when I walked in, and I've never seen someone's world collapse in real time before. It's not dramatic like in the movies. There's no screaming or throwing things. It's just emptiness, like watching someone's soul leave their body. How long? She asked, and her voice was barely a whisper. I could have lied. I could have minimized it, made it seem like less than it was. But looking at her face, seeing the complete devastation there, I couldn't add another lie to the mountain I'd already built. 8 months, I said. She nodded like she'd already known, like some part of her had been expecting this moment. Then she stood up, placed Marcus's phone carefully on my coffee table, and walked toward the door. Sarah, please let me explain. I started, but she held up her hand to stop me. Don't, she said without turning around. Just don't. And then she was gone, taking the last pieces of my conscience with her. The wedding was supposed to happen on a Saturday in June. 200 guests, a venue that costs more than most people's cars, a photographer who was booked 2 years in advance. Sarah's parents had already paid for everything: the flowers, the catering, the band that would play their first dance song. Instead, that Saturday morning, Sarah's mom had to make 200 phone calls to tell people the wedding was canceled. Marcus tried to call me 17 times that day. I know because I counted. I didn't answer any of them. What was the point? We'd gotten what we said we wanted. Sarah was out of the picture. But instead of running into each other's arms like we'd fantasized about, we both knew that what we'd built together was too toxic to survive in the real world. Love that starts with betrayal doesn't suddenly become pure just because the obstacle is removed. The social media aftermath was brutal. Sarah's engagement post was still up, still getting likes from people who didn't know what had happened. But slowly the truth started to spread. Friends took sides. People who had celebrated our perfect couple's photos were now dissecting every detail, looking for signs they'd missed. Marcus handled it the way I should have expected him to. He disappeared, took a leave of absence from work, moved back in with his parents 3 states away, claimed he needed to find himself. He chose neither of us in the end, which shouldn't have surprised me. A man who couldn't choose between 2 women probably wasn't capable of choosing anything. But I couldn't run away. I had to face the consequences of what I'd done. Sarah, despite having every right to destroy me, handled her revenge with surgical precision. She didn't post angry rants on social media or send screenshots of our messages to everyone we knew. Instead, she did something much more effective. She told the truth. She told our mutual friends exactly what had happened. She told our former coworkers at the design firm where we'd both interned. She told her family, who had always treated me like another daughter. She didn't embellish or exaggerate. She didn't have to. The truth was damning enough. Within a month, I'd lost most of my social circle. Friends who had known us both for years had to choose sides, and surprisingly few chose mine. My reputation in our industry was destroyed. Word travels fast in creative fields, and nobody wants to hire someone known for betraying their closest friends. My family was disgusted with me. My mom, who had always held Sarah up as an example of the kind of friend everyone should have, couldn't understand how I'd become someone capable of such betrayal. My sister stopped talking to me entirely. The isolation was complete and devastating. I'd gotten Marcus's attention, won his heart, proved that he loved me more than Sarah. But victory felt like the emptiest word in the English language. I spent months replaying every moment, every choice, every lie. I kept waiting for the regret to fade, for some sense of satisfaction to kick in. I'd gotten what I wanted, hadn't I? I'd proven that their perfect relationship was an illusion, that he loved me more than her. But love built on lies doesn't feel like love at all. Feels like winning a contest you're ashamed of entering. 2 years later, I'm still rebuilding my life. I moved to a different city, started over with new friends who don't know my story. I'm in therapy trying to understand how I became someone I don't recognize. Some days are better than others. Marcus, from what I hear through mutual acquaintances, is still single. He bounces between relationships that never last more than a few months. His reputation followed him everywhere word gets around about men who cheat on their fiancés with their best friends. He messages me sometimes late at night asking if I ever think about what we had. I never respond. But Sarah got the ending she deserved, just not the one she originally planned. I saw her engagement announcement last month. Not to Marcus, obviously, but to a man named David who looks at her the way Marcus used to look at his phone. The way a man should look at the woman he loves, with complete attention, with presence, with the kind of focus that makes everyone else in the room disappear. In the photo, Sarah's glowing in a way I never saw her glow with Marcus. She looks like someone who has never doubted her worth, never questioned whether she's truly loved, never had to compete for attention. She looks like someone who learned that the right person will never make you wonder where you stand. The comments on her post are full of friends saying they've never seen her happier, that David clearly adores her, that this is what real love looks like. And reading those comments, I realized something that took me 2 years to understand. I didn't steal Sarah's happy ending. I saved her from settling for less than she deserved. That doesn't make what I did right. It doesn't erase the months of betrayal, the lies, the complete destruction of a friendship that meant everything to me. But it does mean that sometimes, even when we're at our worst, even when we're driven by selfishness and jealousy and want, the universe has a way of working things out for the people who deserve better. Sarah's real happy ending came when she learned her worth wasn't tied to someone who could look elsewhere. If this story taught you something about karma, loyalty, or the price of betrayal, smash that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. And subscribe for more real stories that nobody else will tell. Because sometimes the most important lessons come from the biggest mistakes. And sometimes the person who needs to learn those lessons the most is the one telling the story.